Hi all, this is Simona Rich. I'm recording from my new camera. I think the quality is excellent. I'm very happy about it. In this video, I would like to read out for you an article that I found which was really good about some things about motherhood that people don't talk about some aspects of motherhood, but I think I closed that page. Now how do I access it? Oh, I can't believe I closed it. Oh, I remember how I found it, so I will Google it. Yeah, I should find it now. Yes, it's called Mothers Who Regret Having Children Are Speaking Up Like Never Before. And I guess at the beginning I will address two comments, actually a few more than two comments that I got in response, like the angry comments that I got in response to my article on why I don't want to have children. Some people were triggered by that and they sent accusations about me not wanting to have children, and it was so interesting from two people who are from Indian background. Very similar comments came as though they would basically wanted me to feel guilty about not having children, because they said that, but your mother had you, and you see, why don't you want to have children? Your mother went through all this to have you. It's like because my mother had me, I'm supposed to feel like I owe something and that I have to have children because of this. And the thing is, my mother wanted to have me. So if not me, someone else would come through. And if I had signed up to come into this world and my mother did not want to have me, then someone else would have me. It's basically, that's what I believe, that if we choose to incarnate, things will be arranged and we will incarnate in this world, whether through our current parents, and if they don't want to have us, then through some other parents. It was their choice, so because of that, I should not feel guilty that I don't have children just because my mom had me. It's such a strange reasoning, but it's like they were attempting me to feel guilty, and that's not going to happen. And another comment that I received, which was interesting, was that, and I think that when I spoke about not wanting to have children, I received such comments also before in other older videos and articles, and basically it was about most parents have children because they want someone to take care of them in their old age. So are you not afraid that, if you don't have children, nobody will take care of you in the old age? And this is, again, such a fear-based thing. Like, if you have children with such fear-based intention, it's not going to produce good results. And why suddenly, as you're getting older, you stop believing that the universe, that God will take care of you, and suddenly you rely on only material things? And you're not God. You can't control your children. You don't know what will happen to them. Just think that because of this fear-based reason of someone, that you want someone to take care of you when you're old, you have children because of this fear-based reason, and then that child dies. So you had the children for this reason, and the child died. You never know what will happen. Maybe you won't have good relationship with your children and they will leave you, or they will have bad health and you will need to take care of them. I mean, it's such a strange thing that people actually want to have children for them, to rely on those children in their old age, and why would you want to become a burden for some spirit being, for an individual like my mom? She would never ever want her to become a burden on us, me and my brother. So that's a huge love. That's what I consider to be one of the highest love, that she doesn't want to become a burden. And when this happens, when you don't want to become anyone's burden, you don't. You then think about how to save in old age. You're with your partner, you find a partner, and you try not to become a burden of anyone. This is such a selfish reason, to have children, so that you burden them when you're old. I mean, they're independent beings. They also want to have their own life. So I don't understand the reasoning that people have. Anyway, now this is the article. So it's from macleans.ca. It's macleans.ca. And again, it's called... I don't see now the title, but it says, I regret having children. In pushing the boundaries of accepted maternal response, women are challenging an explosive taboo and reframing motherhood in the process, by Anne Kingston. And it's a rather large article. I don't have much battery on this smartphone. Hopefully it will record the full video. So the article is, at first glance, Amy is like many busy young moms. She's 34, lives in Alberta, works full-time, and is devoted to her 5-year-old. I love my son with all my heart, she says. My life revolves around this child. 4 nights a week from May to June are spent at a sports field, she says. All his schoolmates do it, so if he doesn't, he's left out. When discussing motherhood, however, Amy deviates from the maternal script. If she could make that choice over again, she says she wouldn't. And the reason most mothers are silent about it is because a child is growing. They don't want to insult the child. They don't want him to understand her, or her to understand that they were not wanted, so they keep it quiet. But because of this reason, future mothers get the wrong message. They think that motherhood is blissful, whilst many mothers actually do not want to have children, but because they already have them, they are quiet about this. So they suffer in silence. So mothers-to-be get the wrong message of what motherhood is like. So she basically wouldn't make this choice. She never wanted children. I was very independent, she says. Her husband did. It would have been a deal breaker. Parenthood put an untenable strain on the marriage. Her husband wasn't as involved as she wanted, and it's very, very common with men. They separated. So the husband wanted the child. She had the child because of her husband, and then they separated because he wasn't as involved with children. And that happens. I do hear about it, that men want children, and then the wife decides to have them, and then they are not involved. Life is difficult, Amy reports. Our child has 2 homes, and I'm still doing 90% of it on my own. Amy's candor is part of a growing yet contentious conversation about parental regret, because many mothers shame other mothers who come out to say that they regret having children. They actually shame them. So they are shamed for telling the truth, so that the lie continues. Not the lie, but just a partial view of how motherhood is like. Amy's candor is part of a growing yet contentious conversation about parental regret, one primarily focused on mothers. Social media provides one hub. From the 9,000-member Facebook group I Regret Having Children, to Facebook community with more than 2,600 members, founded by Lauren Byrne, a 32-year-old ER nurse and mother of 2 who lives in Newfoundland. Byrne doesn't regret having children. She tells McLean's the women on the site say they do, and those are the ones that come out that would not mind their identities revealed, but how many parents would never come out, mothers would never come out to say that. So this number is not, doesn't represent the actual statistics. Byrne's group is private and carefully monitored, a necessity given the criticism and judgment admitting regret can provoke. So again, mothers are shamed for telling the truth about how they feel after having children. French psychotherapist Corinne Mayer stoked an international firestorm and condemnation in 2008 with her manifesto, No Kids, 40 Good Reasons Not to Have Children. Her 2 children left her exhausted and bankrupt. It is a drain on finances, and it is a drain on your energy, and many children now are hyperactive, and I see many exhausted mothers running after them. And she couldn't wait for them to leave home, she wrote. In 2013, Isabella Dutton, a 57-year-old British mother of 2 grown children, created furor, I think it's pronounced, with a Daily Mail essay headlined, The Mother Who Says Having These 2 Children is the Biggest Regret of Her Life. By 2018, however, Dutton and Mayer are no longer freakish outliers. Parental regret, or the last parenting taboo, as it's dubbed in the media, has been covered by everyone from BBC to Mary Claire to Today's Parent. So, only in 2018 this is becoming more common to talk. It's like we live in Middle Ages. People are afraid of telling the truth because of the public shame, afraid of being shamed in public. The discussion has been stoked by the first scholarship on regret. Israeli sociologist Orna Donath thrusted into the spotlight with her 2015 book Regretting Motherhood, a study based on interviews with 23 Israeli women, all anonymous, aged 26 to 73, 5 of them grandmothers. Unsurprisingly, women who express regret are called selfish, unnatural, abusive, rather than being truthful, being called truthful, and being thanked for their honesty. Bad moms are believed to exemplify the whining culture we allegedly live in, as Donath puts it. One commenter called Dutton an utterly miserable, cold-hearted and selfish woman. Even Donath has been savaged for her research. One critic suggested she be burned alive. Again, sometimes I think that we have not changed, like the masses have not changed since Middle Ages in the way that they think. Discussing maternal regret raises ethical dilemmas, but is necessary, says Andrea O'Reilly, a professor at York University School of Gender, Sexuality and Women's Studies, and the author of 18 books on motherhood. I understand the protection of children, but if you completely enforce that you have no mother voices telling their story, and you don't want that either. And what we're learning about regretful mothers appends binary thinking that women who regret having children must be neglectful or substandard parents. It's motherhood these women regret, not the children. Dutton expressed love for her offspring. It was maternal stricture she bristled against. In Today's Parent, Augustine Brown called her children the best things I have ever done, and assured readers she wasn't a monster before expressing conflicted feelings. This is so usual that parents are unhappy that they lost their lives for their children, but they are happy, usually they are happy with the beings that the children become. But again, there's no guarantee that your child will become a good human being, because there are children who grow up to kill others, grow up to steal, grow up into addicts. So you have no guarantee about what kind of child you will bring into this world. What I'm struggling with is that it feels like their amazing life comes at the expense of my own, she wrote, expressing remorse for this life I wanted so badly and now find myself trapped in. So she wanted parenthood, but then actually realized that it was a trap. Feeling trapped or suffocated is a common theme in Donna's work. Mothers felt as if the metaphorical umbilical cord binding them to their children were in fact wrapped around their neck. Many women said they felt pressured to have children. And because for thousands of years we pleased men and did whatever men wanted, still women have children if men want them to. So the German novelist Sarah Fisher, author of Die Mütterglücklüge, The Myth of Mothering Joy, Regretting Motherhood, Why I'd Rather Have Become a Father, published in 2016, who writes, she knew she'd made a mistake when the contraction started. The premise that motherhood is not a one-size-fits-all role shouldn't come as a surprise in 2018, given the rise of the childless by choice movement or an international decline in birth rates. And it's so weird that some people still think that a woman is not fulfilled unless she has a child. It's like such a religious thing. And I guess it's in the psyche, in our psyche, but some people start moving on from that and they have no children and they have no regrets about that. So it's changing, but it's taking time. Still, it's received as an affront to the sanctity of motherhood and the entrenched belief that the maternal instinct is innate and unconditional, despite ample historical evidence to the contrary. And even in India, you can see like the way that they show in many movies and advertisements, family life that is very blissful, but when you see the reality, it's actually most family life is very dysfunctional. So it's in the West, I think it's also being pushed that motherhood is blissful, that parenthood is amazing, but it's not. Most parents, they're overworked and many are just tired from having to look after children, but this picture is not shown in the media for some reason. In pushing the boundaries of accepted maternal response, however, something else is happening. A small group of women are reframing motherhood, an institution increasingly idealized and commodified to near absurd ends. June Cleaver has been replaced by Jessica Alba, the former actress who runs a billion-dollar organic baby goods empire and posts Instagram images of perfect airbrushed domesticity for her millions of followers. Celebrity tabloids are fueled by maternity mania. Beyonce's 2017 Instagram post announcing twins via a beatific photo of the performer framed by flowers, fecund belly on display was the most shared ever on Instagram. Pressure on women to have kids is intense, says Amy. I work with a lot of girls and if they haven't had kids, they are told the clock is ticking. Predictably, one of the first interview questions fielded by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle was when they will start a family. Simultaneously, the demanding, exhausting, self-sacrificing, and often thankless work of mothering, the most important job a woman can have, as Ivanka Trump put it in a 2016 campaign video, has never been more restrictive, scrutinized, and questioned. Anti-natalist philosopher David Benatar, the subject of a recent New Yorker profile, even argues no one should have children on compassionate grounds given the painfulness of life. Add to that the notion that children bring self-fulfillment or self-actualization and it becomes a breeding ground for regret. But mothers voicing regret also signals something else, a larger groundswell of maternal reckoning. One Augustine Brown compares to the Me Too campaign. We still can't talk honestly about what it's like to live with those pressures and those sacrifices, she tells McLean's. Yeah, mothers still can't come out and tell in the open what it's really like to be a mother. They just share blissful moments with their children, but keep deep inside all the regrets and unhappiness. And that's again a shame. As I said, they don't present the full picture. And for example, I deeply feel that whatever experience I have to be honest with people and share, because this, my failure or what I learned, might help others not to make the same mistakes. But for some reason, even anonymously, sometimes mothers are not willing to acknowledge, even probably to their own selves, about how they feel about having children. And this paints a wrong picture of women, of two women who consider, who think whether they should have children or not. They don't have much choice in terms of seeing the reasons against not having children, because of this fear and not being willing to even tell to their own selves the truth about how they feel about not having children. Response to her story was overwhelmingly positive, she reports, save one woman. She told me I should see a therapist and that my children deserved a better mother. Yet dozens of women wrote to thank her for making them not feel so alone. Yeah, they do feel alone in their suffering because they are not, they're afraid to come out in the open to say how they feel. If they do, then they will not feel alone, because other mothers will also come out to say that they feel the same way. So it's self-made loneliness. Donat's book has also been a sensation. When published in Germany, Regretting Motherhood, Regretting Motherhood on Twitter has trended in that country. Expanding the vocabulary of motherhood helps all women, Donna tells McLean's. We need to make it easier for mothers to be mothers, but to also rethink the policies of reproduction and the very obligation to become mothers at all. Unfortunately, in some countries, this is not yet questioned. Like in India, once you're married, you have to have a child. No question about it. Augustine Brown is more direct. Excuse me, my boyfriend is calling. Dino, I'm recording one video. I will call you later, okay? Okay. Okay, where did I finish? Augustine Brown is more direct. We are angry, we are fed up, and we are on the verge of something. Regret requires choice, so there is little surprise that expression of parental regret mirrors the arrival of the pill, and with it the decision to delay or even forego reproduction. The first indication came in 1975 when advice columnist Ann Landers asked readers, if you had it to do over again, would you have children? Of more than 10,000 responses, 70% said no, that they would not want to have children. And I wonder if out of those 30% who said yes, whether they were really truthful. Probably some not. I'm not telling nobody would want to have second child, but many people don't, because only after having children they realize how much effort it takes into bringing that child up. Because of the lack of real information about it, as I said, because motherhood and parenthood is portrayed by media as blissful, and because of that people think it's going to be very easy to raise their children. Traditionally, regret has been viewed as the purview of the childless. Thomas Gilovich, a Cornell University psychologist famed for research that indicates people are far more likely to regret things they haven't done than things that they have, examined people with high IQs. Not one regretted having children. Several reported regretting not having a family. That assumption has been challenged, however, by the childless by choice movement, and research debunking dismissing the myth that babies have a bonding effect on marriage or that children bring happiness. A 2010 American Sociological Association study found that parents were more likely to be depressed than their child-free counterparts, and that people without kids were happier than any other group. And I also see it myself, like I don't have children, but some of my friends of the same age had children, and I know only one lady who is happy with the choice. She really loves her child, but she's very much struggling because the father left her, so she has to support the child, and because of this, obviously she is poor because she has to spend a lot for the child. But she is happy with the child, definitely, and the boy itself is lovely. The notion that motherhood is a sacred role rather than one of the most profound and complex human relationships has made it somehow magically exempt from regret, Donna tells McLeans. In every other realm where regret is experienced, people soldier on, she notes. Her research even indicates that women who feel guilt over regret are more conscientious parents. The more I feel regret, the more I give them, a mother interviewed by Donna said about her 2 children. Donna views suspicion over the existence of maternal regret as consistent with the traditional rejection of women expressing negative responses to motherhood, pointing to the reluctance to accept postpartum depression until the late 20th century. Before then, mothers reporting perinatal sadness were dismissed as neurotic. They weren't even allowed to acknowledge that they would get depressed after childbirth. They weren't allowed to do this because motherhood was considered sacred and blissful experience. So if they experienced depression, something they were considered as not normal, and this depression wouldn't be ascribed for motherhood, for giving birth, but just that they are not normal. While fathers are increasingly active in child raising, most childcare and housework is still performed by women, as data from StatScan's 2015 General Social Survey indicates. Donna has also interviewed men who regret fatherhood and has found one difference is that most men who become fathers, even though they didn't want to do so because their partner wanted to be a mother and they didn't want to live without her. They made their decisions without being threatened by divorce, as opposed to several women in my study. Stephen March, author of The Unmade Bed, The Messy Truth About Men and Women in the 21st Century, often writes about fatherhood. He says that he has never met a father willing to admit to regret. I can think only of a few who might even have felt it, he says. Fathers' regret tends to be expressed with their feet, says York University's O'Reilly. They walk away. While men are judged for doing so, they don't face the same censure as women, she says. Men's identities never collapsed into their parental role. If you're a bad mother, you're a bad woman. If a father is late at daycare, it's poor thing, he's busy. A mother who's late is viewed as selfish and irresponsible. That's changing, O'Reilly believes, though she questions the extent. Some men may feel their children are central to their identity, but I've never seen it. Declining fertility rates and older, more educated first-time mothers have also contributed to the heightened expectations. And this makes me also think about declining fertility rates and women having children older, women having fewer children. So before, women would have children as soon as their period would start, and they would have many children. And now in the Western world, most women have just 1 or 2 children. So that for me shows that already our Earth School experience is coming to a close. We're already learning all the lessons, most of the lessons we have learned, and therefore not as many souls need to incarnate into this world. And some get upset, like, for example, even those people who don't know that I don't want to have children, and they know that I'm in a relationship with a man of another race, Indian guy, and they would say, already the white race is dying out, and why are you with like an Indian guy? It's so weird when people say that, but it means that we no longer need to reincarnate. We are from, there are racial souls are bound by race also and by nationality. It's like a family of souls. So our particular soul group, it means that it had already most of the lessons. So not many souls need to reincarnate. So it's not a big problem if the number of white people is decreasing. Like, I don't see any problem in that. It means the souls have learned the lessons that this earth had for them. So for me, declining fertility rates, the fact that women have children when they're older and fewer, shows that this particular soul group had enough of earth experience. So it shouldn't be like considered catastrophic if the numbers of white people are decreasing. Author Rana Reiko Risotto was publicly shamed when she revealed she preferred not to be a full-time parent in her memoir, Hiroshima in the Morning. Now a non-custodial mother to 2 young sons, she has reported being threatened with death and sexual violence by strangers. Taboo surrounding discussing maternal regret have made studying it difficult, says O'Reilly. The late feminist philosopher Sarah Ruddick, author of Maternal Thinking, tried to publish a book on the topic with contributions from scholars who were mothers, but had to shelve it. Women didn't want to out themselves, says O'Reilly. They were saying, what if my child ever reads this? So that's the reason this truth of the regret of motherhood doesn't come out usually in the open. So I think I will end it here. It still continues. It's a very long article, but pretty much, excuse me for the dog, I pretty much covered everything. But I like this article. It's very informative, and it just confirms what I believe to be the case, that this topic is not addressed in its truth. So we hear one side of blissful parenthood, and we don't hear the other side. And it's like if you look at Pinterest or Facebook or YouTube, you see like the family bloggers showing only their blissful experiences as though they don't have any problems with their children. And that's a shame, because they present false picture to the world, and then other women are seduced into this lifestyle thinking they will experience exactly the same, and then they get bitterly disappointed. And it's the same about everything. I think that if you are in the public, you have the responsibility to share how it really is. If you're sharing your life, then show not only your successes but your failures as well, because then other people can learn from you. So it's a shame that mothers refuse to do it. I understand why, but even if they could at least share anonymously what actually they're going through, and most mothers do not do this. What's even worse, they even are afraid to acknowledge that to their own selves, that they're overworked, that they are not happy. And I'm not telling all mothers are unhappy, but obviously there are mothers who are unhappy, like as some mothers got triggered by what I wrote. And where is that coming from? If you're blissfully raising your children, you would not angrily react to what I wrote. It's because it resonated with you, what I wrote, and you don't want to acknowledge that you got angry about the article and video. So I think that's all I wanted to share with you in this long video. If you have any opinions about this, if you're raising your own children or you chose not to have your own children, then please share your reasons in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Take care.